So I just asked my wife if she would rather be, going back to last week, super duper cute or super fucking cute. And it seemed she is in agreement with us that she would rather be super fucking cute. I'm excited to see what all of our Twitter friends have to say about that.
Well, yeah. Gather up your hobbit feet from near and far and let's call each other cute.
But we've got something completely different, a little less cute, a little more stabby this week. We've got Chiodos with Baby You Wouldn't Last a Minute on the Creek. And anytime we get a chance to talk about post-hardcore, metalcore, I'm thrilled. And I'm also very curious where the conversation is going to go because we did not enjoy this type of music together. So I'm excited to see how this episode pans out.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it. What is going on, everybody? I'm Tom.
And I'm Pat.
We're best friends, and you're listening to the Reminiscent Podcast. Where are we starting with this one?
Let me set a scene for you. It's Iroquois, high school, open gym, basketball.
Ooh.
CJ, who you knew, won't say last name.
Oh, I know.
Had a mix. Him and Kevin, who you also know, would make little mixes occasionally when we have open gym runs, playing basketball and things like that. Usually rap of the time, right? Flavor of the year, whatever. 3 6 Mafia, things like that. Sure. But the words best friend become redefined came on in the middle of one of these mixes one day. And I thought to myself, well, it was one word that came to it. What? You know, what the A bunch of like jockey basketball dudes. If your stomach feels weak, then my work here is done. They were just like, that's so sick. That's so sick. I'm like, whoa. I mean, it's just one of those instances where we talk about All American Rejects, we talk about Fall Out Boy, we talk about the one where the gang goes international, things like that, like, or where they go hella mega. We made those jokes a few weeks ago, but even Chiodos was sneaking into freaking warm-up tapes for high school basketball teams and things like that, just because of how, I don't know, hard they went, how nasty, how hardcore some of their songs were. This is not that song, but I wanted to paint that picture real quick just to speak to like, it didn't just take a 40-minute drive out to the Hangout to go hear this type of stuff and be with people who were dabbling a touch. Does that surprise you at all? Any thoughts on the wider maybe appeal of not only Chiodos, but I don't know, breakdowns were just in and around the world.
Honestly, that is really surprising to me because I don't know if it's just like, you know, the self-centered assholism of being a 16-year-old thinking that like, I'm the only person that listens to music this real. But like, I'm shocked that those people were aware of this band. Well,
they had home computers with LimeWire that they were ruining too, you know?
Right.
So I'm assuming they just heard, you know, the beat or the breakdown probably made the rounds. You know, because it was incredible for that particular song. Again, we're talking about.
Stomach feels weak.
Yeah,
like,
the way the singer was singing, it's like, I think the way it drops out and that little bass drop thing, it's just like, boom,
yeah.
Boom. Anywho, I think that went the 2008 equivalent of viral word of mouth type thing, and they downloaded it and put it on a mixed CD, Tom. So
crazy, like playing through the gymnasium at a basketball
all
warm-up.
over, just screamy layup lines, and. Almost Union City-ish with, we might as well have thrown on red jumpsuit apparatus that practice like Union City was known to put in there. God, that place freaks me out. But, okay, so I just wanted to open up with that to maybe assess maybe like, this wasn't just this niche thing. Chiodos was big, and you, my friend, are a huge fan.
Yeah, dude, my first ever torrent. My friend
Ringback
Seth,
tone? Torrent? Or sorry, different things. I don't want to talk about both.
Did I have a ringback tone of?
Oh, it was this. It was one of their guitar riffs from Chiodos.
Oh my God.
For maybe all of junior year. I don't know, but I'd call you. And I got more and more familiar with the song depending on how available you were at the moment. I called you because it would ring for pretty long. Or whatever like the equivalent of 4 rings was that much of the song, I guess. So,
interesting.
I ended up kind of like being familiar with the tune because of how often, you know, we would talk on the phone.
First of all, every time you say the word ringback tone, it's just like I'm falling through a portal into like something that was buried deep in my subconscious. Like every time, even if we talked about it last week, I forget about it in the 6 days since we've talked. No, I love Chiodos. It was the first torrent, which was like, rather than LimeWire, you can download a whole album, a whole discography. I think the second thing I torrented was Less Than Jake full discography, and it was like 7,000 songs. But it blew my mind. I think it was Bone Palace Ballet was the first thing I ever torrented, and it was just like, oh, the internet's different now. Like this is a better version than I knew existed. And lots of fond memories of Chiodos, some weird anecdotes about possible family members of the people the thing was named after. And
hold on, back up. Walk me through whatever you're talking about at this moment. Because what?
So, how do you pronounce the band's name?
I was always nervous about it, but I guess I've always just said Chiodos.
Okay.
But for a minute, I was like, it's kind of like Euro Gyro. It's like, is it Chiodo? Is it Chiodos? I don't know.
So there was a guy a year above us. His name was Drew Chido. And I remember our friend Mark, who was like very into like a mirror and what's the band, Whitechapel, and he was friends, and it was like he presented this idea as if it was like this national conspiracy, but he was like, yeah, the guys in Chiodos, like they named the band after these other guys. They used to be called the Chiodo Brothers, but Drew pronounces his name Chiodos. So like the band's name is Chiodos. And he refused to call it anything other than Chiodos, even though no one else in the fucking world did. But to him, it was so important that everyone knew the actual pronunciation was Chiodos. And there's some fast facts. We'll get to them about the name of the band. But like, for some reason, that's just, it so encapsulates the mentality of someone in high school where it's like, this thing that matters to absolutely no one is like your thing, letting everyone know how it should be pronounced, the name of this band that like more people knew about than I guess we thought, but isn't, I don't know, just like, no, it's Chiodos because the guys that he named him after, like, our friend's a cousin of theirs. Anyway, it's just so funny.
We're into dangerous, like, Pokemon name territory there at that point. So, you know, it's just a lot to keep track of at a certain point. But is it confirmed Chiodos?
That's the only way I've ever heard anyone pronounce it, including the members of the band announcing themselves on stage. So I think
I'll take it. I think
it's Chiodos. I think it's Chiodos.
Eyewitness accounts from the scene. There
was a Warped Tour video. I think one year I missed seeing them in town and I was really bummed out about it. So like I was watching like early YouTube videos and there's a guy on stage and he's like, and up next, Chiodos.
Oh, a nice little announcer workaround. Say it's so insane that you can't get blamed for saying it wrong. You're just excited. Right. Just happy to be here.
Yeah. So anyway, lots of good memories. But this is like a different Sherpa. This is my friend Seth who really got me into them.
I say it every time. Seth had the perfect head of emo hair with a hint of blonde in the bangs, and it was swoopy, an effortless head swoop. And he just had it he just had it nailed down. He had he knew who he was, and I was jealous.
It was perfect, man. Absolutely perfect.
Because some people had to lean into the swoop and their hand was involved and it was like part of... Right. But he was just like a little, just like softly in the wind, just right on over. It's like, damn. Anyway, I guess I've done it like 3 or 4 times already, so I'm just going to keep gushing over Seth's high school hair whenever he comes up. But yeah, this is you and your hardcore friends for a little bit, but I guess to my earlier story, 3 of these songs off the record we're talking about, I guess, in this moment, were huge. The guy with the staff on the album, kind of like old worldy, metal-y, rocky, like...
But a little Dungeons & Dragons, too.
Yeah, and a little Shakespearean. We'll come to learn once we go through the fast facts a little bit. Yeah, I think this wouldn't be the band like Norma Jean, you lose me. Whitechapel, not even going there.
Dude.
But...
You goddamn take it back about Norma Jean.
Well, I can't take back that I don't like them. I'm just saying, like, but I think Chiodos was almost Alexis on Fire-ish in my book in terms of like,
Oh.
I can hang. I like this. Nuh-uh, I like it. You know.
That's so funny to me because, like, we had this conversation on the Accidents episode, which is 201, I think. I find Craig Owens' scream and, oh God, what's his name? The guy from Alexis on Fire to be, like, abrasive, whereas other, like, harsh vocalists, it feels like more refined. I don't know. It's so interesting that you think these are the palatable ones, but maybe it's just because the singing, the melodies, interesting guitars. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure the melodies and guitars have a lot to do with it. And half of it is just nice dudes with good voices. So it's like not that hard, you know. Plus the screaming parts, you're like in that mindset. So you're like, oh,
okay,
I guess we're rocking today, guys. So I'm in. Anyway, you want to do some fast facts real quick? Oh, I should ask you this. Have you ever seen them live?
I don't.
I saw some YouTube videos where the dude was doing the riff to this song, You Wouldn't Last a Minute on the Creek, with one hand, and he was like dancing with the other hand, like pumping the crowd up with it, because he was just kind of tapping with one hand on the top, couple springs, dun, 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 dun. I was like, oh, I don't know. It was nasty. It was gnarly. The lead singer was hanging out by the drums. He was just like catching his breath, like bobbing his head for a moment. I'm like, man, people probably almost died several times over. Just seeing how the band members were exhausted from doing it, I can only imagine how the pits were, I guess. And that's me speculating wildly because I am the biggest poser on this front, as we've well established. But you could tell he's just looking in the crowd, like bobbing to the sway of the bodies in front of him, just with one hand, pointing kind of to the sky-ish with the other, not at anything in particular, just like, almost like, I don't know, our parents shove fucking Woodstock down our throats. Yeah. We're allowed to get pumped up about a dude doing this riff with one hand in front of a huge crowd of people just slaughtering each other. Like, I don't know. At the risk of being awful, just like, it's rock and roll, baby. That's just, that's rock. That's what that is. We were rocking. Anyway, I'm the worst. Why don't you take over, Tom? Why don't we just get into the fast facts? And I'll stop describing a YouTube video I saw a few times in preparation for the show.
So
that's rock, baby. That's some rock and roll.
So the album,
if you came to rock, that's what we got.
You ready to rock, PK Brother? Speaking of Dave,
welcome back to Big Time in the Dirty Dirty. It's the Rock Hour on a Wednesday drive home, baby. Yeah, you just came off Chiodos playing with the riffs. It's the Riff Wednesday, everybody. How you doing, Dirty Dirty?
Oh, not good, man.
I've been better, I gotta say. All right.
Okay. Which, by the way, we have Big Time in the Dirty Dirty t-shirts for sale on our website.
Yes. We also have a website. I've noticed on Twitter a couple people who have very just like kindly been asking, like, hey, where can we find the playlist and stuff? We do a horrible job of saying or promoting anything. So, we totally have a website where all that stuff is.
Reminiscentpodcast.com.
There you go.
We spend a lot of time on it. So if you could hang out on the website a little bit, it would make me feel good.
Yeah, we'll do a better job at tweeting links.
Yeah. Okay, so the album All Is Well That Ends Well was released on July 26, 2005, Equal Vision Records. This is crazy to me. In 2008, this is like the last recording we had, sold more than 200,000 copies as of 2008. I didn't know they were that. I mean, that's not like huge, right? But that's respectable, especially for this, I don't know, small corner of the world, right?
Yeah, I think you're also very heavy downloading years, so any sale numbers
true.
It was weird to me that there was no, like the Wikipedia page for this was like, as of 2008, but we don't have any more information than that, so don't ask us. It's like, oh, shit.
Right.
Damn, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple stuff like when they re-released the album a year later, and they had an acoustic version of this song, and the end of the song is like the prelude. It was like prelude number 1 or something. Is that in reverse? That's how the song closes out. Kind of fun, little Easter egg kind of thing. Ooh, what's that creepy little reverse thing? And it's crazy that. Even for like major artists, if you get 4 music videos off of one album, it's that's kind of big, and we got that from them. one day all women will become monsters. There's a podcast that just followed us on Instagram called Did That Age Well? They should cover that for sure. The word's best friend becomes redefined. Baby wouldn't last a minute on the creek. And one of my all-time favorites, All Near Rides Beware. Wondering in real time why we're not doing that episode.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to talk about the video because some of their Shakespearean influence stuff is kind of interesting because I made the comment that like this feels like a Midsummer Night's Dream, but like with paint huffing. And then you learn that they were like heavily influenced by Shakespeare. So I'm like, oh, so they were maybe going for a Midsummer Night's Dream thing.
Yeah,
anyway, more on that later. Okay. Yeah. I'm interested in this last factoid. I'll stop stealing your thunder.
Well, there's a couple. So first of all, Craig Owens, who's the singer of the band, had a side project that came out, I think it was 2007. Again, I remember listening to it with Seth in AP Biology. I told the story about Miss Petrie a couple weeks ago. And it was like, going back to last week with Christopher Drew, it was like a metalcore kid that had this like very poppy, very upbeat melodic project. Cinematic Sunrise, maybe we only got one EP from them. It was so good. Definitely worth checking out. Very, very fun pop music.
I'll give you a little Michael Barbaro for that.
And okay, so, and this is the whole thing about the Chiodos brothers. So when the band formed in 2001, the group called themselves the Chiodos Brothers. And it was a tribute to the filmmakers Stephen Charles and Edward Chiodo, who made Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And the rumor was that our friend Drew was like a distant cousin or something of them. So if Drew said Chiodo, then the people who inspired the name of the band would have been called Chiodo. Whatever. It's all it's all crazy, but it's just so funny. Things in high school, everything was so brutally important. And damn.
I'm seeing in the notes who you're talking about. A guy named Mark. That is some shit he'd just roll up to a lunch table that he didn't normally sit at and just say, "Are you guys talking about Chiodos?" I'm pretty sure it's this because I have this cousin. I don't know. It's just kind of an ear. Like there's like a group of individuals that all their dads went to Vincent together, like kind of a generation above us, I guess. And some of those old Blessed Sacrament dudes, you could tell whose dads were just like very eerie Polish dads. Yeah. And the way he would approach informing us of that was a very eerie Polish dad way of just like, oh no, I got a cousin Drew. Yeah. Why would he say it like that? I'm telling you.
Well, what's funny, it wasn't even related to him. It was just one of his friends may have been a cousin of the Chiodos brothers.
Yeah. But it's just kind of like, there's like this weird like Polish Falcons, $1 Schlitz beer culture of pre-internet just saying shit. And that is more than just eerie, but I'll say it feels very eerie where now we can just Google like, oh, well, they say it live on stage in all these videos and it's Chiodos for sure. And we could find that out very quickly. But before it's just like a whole city can be kind of unsure because of one like pretty confident, take that was based on not a ton. And I guess that's more of a take on the internet than Mark. Mark was just a very entertaining, nice dude. But I love some of those older second generation Blessed Sacrament kids, it's just kind of like, again, it's not just Erie. There's a lot of cities like it, but I have to laugh.
Right. So I saw that the album was produced by a guy named Mark Hudson at, this is really funny, Rancho Recordo is the name of his studio. But I had such a hard time finding out who this guy was, just searching him by name. Apparently the new singer of Dragon Force is named Mark Hudson. There was also like this old producer who like worked with Ringo Starr. And I'm thinking like, I don't think the producer of Ringo Starr was also doing Chiodos.
I hope it's both, man.
Right? But
it also, why haven't we done a Dragon Force episode? Or is it very obvious why we haven't? Because Dragon Force was just okay.
Whoa! Blazing!
Coming from the top ropes. Wow, they play guitar really weird. Anything else? Nah.
Actually,
that's the only thing to say.
Here's another Dragon Force. Here's another Mark story about. So, you know how just absolutely fucking fast Dragon Force played guitar?
Yes, that is the top factoid.
So Mark was telling me that the lead guitarist of the band didn't like, so when you pick fast, you pick up and down.
Sweet picking.
Well, nah, not necessarily. Just you just pick really fast. Well, I guess so. Maybe, yeah. You just pick really fast, right? Up and down. You hit the strokes on the up and down stroke. And he claimed that the lead guitarist didn't know how to do an upstroke. So he only did downstrokes. So for as fast as Dragon Force was playing, the guitarist actually had to play twice as fast because he could only do downstrokes.
That's amazing. Because there's like no way, right?
Right.
Because you're sitting at the lunch table like, dude, no fucking way, man. And I think everybody who's ever been in a school setting had that kid at the table, but you need that kid to just keep it live. There's like kind of a slow day. The pizza's not so good that day. You need someone like that just to say some shit. It's like, hey, that dude actually plays twice as
yeah. The dude can't uppick or upstroke.
Yes. He actually has this genetic thing where his fingers are able to move twice as fast as the average human.
He's not an ambi picker.
Right. I gotta sit here and show love for the storytellers at the table who are just talking until someone keeps them from doing so. I remember in 8th grade, there was this one guy, names aside, would just start going. And after a while, people knew to stop correcting him just to see how he'd look up to see who would, I don't know, just kind of those like looking for attention dudes. And after a while, you learn to just let him go and pretend you were agreeing to see how insane, like how famous or like almost arrested he would be. But by the time the story was over, like, you guys buying this? Because normally people would be like, shut up, man. Come on. But after a while, I'd be like, no, we're going to let you stop yourself. Like, can you learn to self-police to the point where like you're not a wanted felon by the end of the story that like was really just you? I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
Yeah, there's always one of those in the group.
Yes.
And you got to love them. So anyway, Mark Hudson, he's not the singer of Dragon Force. He's not the guy who worked with Ringo Starr. And those two people are not the same people either. But this guy has worked with Saves the Day, Take It Back Sunday, The Swellers, Two Tongues. Do you remember them? Super good. And Laura Jane Grace, who he also plays bass in Laura Jane Grace and the Devouring Mothers Union. Never heard of that project. I guess it's fairly recent. And interestingly, he also did front of house engineering. I guess you don't really you're either like a live engineer or you're a studio engineer. And he went on tour with Against Me, Take It Back Sunday, Thursday, The Gaslight Anthem, Say Anything, Motion City Soundtrack, Amberlynn, The Color Fred, Dashboard Confessional, and The Swellers, who interestingly had a very similar upbringing to Chiodos, and that they had their start at like this small all ages venue in Flint, Michigan called Flint Local 432, which
Midwest
just has
VFW energy.
Crazy VFW. Apparently,
yes,
it didn't specifically say it was or it was not a VFW, but I imagine them calling it something different, even though it was just in a VFW.
Yeah, it's the same venue. We're all talking about the same venue. I think. But,
Right.
Yeah, when I found out they were from Michigan, I was like, huh, okay. Yeah, that explains a lot. You think about kind of just outside of Cincinnati, Dayton-ish, Hawthorne Heights, feeling angsty.
Yeah.
I guess
Attack.
You were maybe Indiana, Iowa, you start to get Slipknotty and stuff like that. But yeah, okay. So you're like not in Nowheresville, Michigan. You're still kind of Detroit-y, still some manufacturing going on. But yeah, you have some VFW halls to thrash in. And this makes the sound make a little bit more sense to me now that you say it, I think. Honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to play a quick game. Is that all right?
It's always all right.
Good song by man. I'm sorry.
Motion City
That's gonna bug me. I
Soundtrack?
gotta look it up. No, hold on.
Oh.
You can keep this in if you want, but I'm gonna look it up.
It's like, because it's definitely not, it's always all right.
Alabama Shakes. Let's just move on. Great song. Okay. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of information from the Wikipedia page for
From
Chiodos.
the Chiodos Wikipedia page?
Yes.
Or the album?
Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah. The album.
Okay.
One of these does not sound a ton like the others. And I'm going to start reading them, if that's all right with you.
Sure.
This is where KP comes in. She's our not literary agent for the show, but our romantic literature. She's got the literary degree, so.
What is it? correspondent, right?
Yeah, correspondent, our romantic literature emo correspondent. The best in the biz at that particular job by a lot. Okay. First, the song One Day Women Will All Become Monsters is a reference to Shakespeare's play King Lear. Many of the lyrics from the song, as well as the title, are taken almost word for word from the play. Huh, that's fun. Right? Well, Shakespeare? Not too bad.
Okay.
Here's another one. The song There's No Penguins in Alaska is made up from a number of Shakespeare's sonnets. The chorus comes from line 5 of Shakespeare's 5th. The term murderous shame is borrowed from line 14 of his 9th. And the lyrics, the worst was this, my love was my decay, are taken from line 14 of his 18th. Okay, cool. These guys, pretty into Shakespeare, right? Here's another one. The line star-crossed lovers from the song Expired in Goreville, LOL, is derived from William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Wow.
Okay, sure.
Okay, literature. Am I right? Here's another. In the song All Nereids Beware, am I saying that right?
I have no idea.
The opening line, this spring of love resembles the uncertain glory of an April day. It's a modern adaptation of a line said by Proteus in, you guessed it, the Shakespearean play The Two Gentlemen of Verona. This is just interesting, right? Okay, here's the last one of the ones I pulled.
Okay.
The phrase, I'll stop stabbing when you stop screaming, is printed on the side of the liner behind the CD tray. That's also a sentence you'll find on the Wikipedia page for this Chiodos album.
What?
And I just thought that was a pretty interesting collection of things that are true.
That is so
Can
funny.
you guess which one of these things is not like the other, Tom? Probably the stabbing one.
Won't be
It doesn't
so
have a ton
funny.
to do with Shakespeare. Unless it does, and maybe it has everything to do with Shakespeare.
Right?
Yeah.
Man, you know,
Is Romeo and Juliet the original hardcore girlfriend, emo boyfriend? I didn't get the fucking tweet right. Whatever it is. Metalcore
God.
girlfriend, pop punk boyfriend is what I meant to say. I'm sorry, everybody.
oh my God.
Well, that was a lot of thanks for giving me that time on the show. I'll stop talking for a while. Thanks, everybody, for being here. This is the Chiodos episode, and we're only about a third of the way through.
So, okay.
Okay, so we did that for an obvious fucking reason. There's like a very weird line between like how violent and strange and paint huffy this band can be, but also how seemingly directly influenced by Shakespeare they are. Any thoughts, any background, anything as a fan that you've noticed or picked up on or want to speak to?
I mean, at what point is it like inspiration or just like blatant plagiarism? Like, I don't know.
No, I don't. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, no, an homage. I don't know. What if Shakespeare heard it? What do you think he'd say? Actually, let's play that game. What would Shakespeare had headphones on in one of those like fucking BuzzFeed videos, and it's like famous people listen to the Screamo songs that are inspired by their sonnets. What do you think he'd say?
Oi!
That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut. Anytime Tom has ever done an impression on the show, and we're talking rare, he says "oi." Regardless
I can't
of context.
think of anything else.
And it's very funny to me because
you know how much I'm panicking inside.
you would have out of context, not super funny, but to me in this moment it's just like, wow, that's committing to the bit. 5 years of every single impression. No, I'm not asking you to do like a voice, but like maybe he'd be into it, open-minded, having a drink. I don't know.
I don't know, man. All I can think about is like how much I hated Shakespeare. At the same time, I was listening to Chiodos, just like not even knowing it was just straight up Shakespeare. I feel like that's something. So we were doing Shakespeare in Mr. Bischoff's class, which was junior year, whatever literature. I feel like this was the perfect opportunity for him to bring this up because he was like the cool teacher that like.
You guys didn't tell me about the new Bayside? What the hell, man?
Right? So I don't know. He missed
Went
a
too over
really
the
good
top with that.
opportunity.
He didn't talk like that, but he did like Bayside.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Okay.
God, I love.
Should we get to the music video? Anyway,
Yeah, let's do
Shakespeare,
it.
heavy influence. The bit we tried to do for you all did not appear to land. If I could feel the room here while we're recording. But let's just keep pushing through.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the episode, but let me briefly break in here to thank our Patreon supporters. Every week we shout out our Council of Elders. These are our top tier contributors. In this group, we have Andre Provost, Johnny Leftwich, Jason Carey, Anonymous, Chris Lukey, and JW Johnson. Thank you all so much for supporting the show, and thank you to everyone in our Patreon. If you sign up before April 1st, we are going to be giving away one of our anti-novels, Ron Carnage, the Thinker Boy, to someone in our Patreon at random. We also have bonus episodes, behind the scenes videos, video AMAs, merch discounts, all kinds of stuff going on in there. You can check it out at patreon.com/reminiscent. But thank you to everyone who supports the show, whether you are a Patreon member or not. We truly just appreciate you being here. Thank you all so much, and back to the show.
I'm going to say a little bit of a epileptic seizure warning type energy from the start, or just like for the way it's going off the bat. I'm not seeing it. I'm not saying there was a title card. I'm saying the way the lights were. I'm like, oh, this is pretty intense for having no warning at all.
So yeah, you wrote like seizure warning right off the bat, and I got 10 minutes of a blank screen. I didn't know, or 10 minutes. I got 10 seconds of a blank screen. I didn't know if I had missed something. But yeah, it's a little all over the place. I want to preface the whole video with a really brilliant commenter on songfact.com. Crystal from East Point, Michigan says, I love this song, but I don't understand the music video. And I'm here to say, Crystal, you're not alone. I tried to find any kind of synopsis on this video, and apparently no one knows what's going on. So I'm excited to
I
get
know
your
exactly
opinion.
what's going on.
You know.
And I'd be happy to paint.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. Actually, I'm very excited. There's a guy with an old gas mask, pilot's mask. He's in a room. There's flashy cameras. And it's interesting. You see like live performances of them using strobe lights a lot, where it's just like these crazy riffs coming in. Dun, 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 but the strobe light makes it look like the bodies are moving in like slow pattern movements. That was honestly super
so sick. Metalcore in 2005 to have the strobe lights. I remember when we played that show, the Harbor Creek Battle of the Bands in 2005, Kansas City Massacre played, and they just had one guy. They had a bunch of like work lamps pointed up at them, and the one guy was just plugging them in and out of the socket.
I love that so much. They
didn't have like a power button.
That's amazing. You got to do what you can do, right? I mean,
yeah. I
don't know. And probably it was somebody in a band playing that night helping them do it. I don't know. I love the eerie scene so much. But that's amazing because I doubt they got the effect they were going for, unfortunately. Yeah, so it opens up. There's a guy in a room. He doesn't seem to be in great shape. A little bit of a gas mask situation that we later learn has kind of like a beak attachment. Think like Black Plague or Spanish influenza mask looking thing. We'll call him the Bird, more or less. And then there's another person with a mouse head costume in a blue dress. I think for the purposes of this narrative, the girl, the mouse. There's a bird boy and a girl mouse. They're in separate rooms, but there's like cuts of them running through like this urban kind of apocalyptic, or what appears to be apocalyptic setting, like a zombie situation. But then you kind of learn that the world is kind of just happening around them.
Well, I think it kind of just looks like that because they're shooting on like Super 8 film or something. It's very...
No, I know, but the impression I got was like we're supposed to think.
Oh, yeah, out of the gate, yeah, it does look
But then like you notice that the world's just happening around them and they're just with each other in this little world, the mouse and the bird. It's already, like you said, it's like we're sympathizing with Crystal from East Point, Michigan on songfact.com at the moment because it's kind of like, what? I don't know. What about that? Anyway, occasionally there's the mouse, the girl mouse is, on her stoop in this urban setting outside of an apartment building, wiping tears, toting a little medical first aid tin of sorts, right?
Yeah.
In her apartment, there's a bird cage with a lot of birds, which I think is like the first sign that there could be arguments made that there's something to be taken from this video. Because Bird Boy is the love interest, and you think about the song itself. Let's just take a pause here, because we're about to rip through this video, because it's a pretty simple, anyway.
Sure.
Not a lot of scenes, it's just bird and mouse, and do they end up together? Thoughts on this as a breakup song in general? It's a pretty simple premise. What if we dropped everything and walked away? Thoughts from teen you, current you? Just talk to me.
It's not about a romantic interest. Apparently, Craig wrote this from the perspective of like right before they were about to get signed, two of the band members quit because they couldn't deal with like the work or the drama or the stress or whatever. And he was like, well, then it. Then this record deal isn't going to happen. I'm going to quit. And it's because you guys couldn't keep up that like you're dragging us all down. So it was actually about like friendship and like kind of this work relationship, I guess, rather than a romantic thing, which I didn't know. I would have never interpreted it as that, but like it's all over the internet. There was like an interview that Craig did with Alternative Press like a while ago.
You just killed my mouse and bird theory for the video. Right. But we'll venture forward fearlessly.
But no, I mean, I think since it could be interpreted as like anything, I think I know where you're going with it, and I want to hear you. I want to hear.
Well, it's not going to be any like freaking thesis. I mean, I think.
Oh, I know.
Did mouse and bird like each other? Like, like, duh. Yeah, it's not going to be like, oh, interesting. Never in a million years would I have like, thanks for, anyway. So yeah, no, not exactly groundbreaking. Now that you say that, now that I'm going to think about it as we walk through it. But, yeah, the birdcage in the house, it's almost like, well, now I feel stupid because we know what the song's about, and I'm just going to talk about the fucking birdcage for like 4 minutes.
No, what the song's actually about. It doesn't matter because the video, we do so many videos where like it's not.
No, I know, but I don't want to be like, well, I think the birds, there's another bird, so birds and birds.
Put a bird on
anyway. You think the medical thing, there's like this medical druggy aspect to it. You don't really know what's going on. It's very like almost you're going to have a seizure watching the video in general. But the mouse takes out the tin. There's a bunch of pictures in it.
Like Polaroids, yeah.
Yeah. And the mouse, assuming she's female, starts handing them to strangers. Thoughts on what's going on so far? Like you're saying it's hard to keep track of. I would tend to agree at the moment.
Well, okay, now that we're kind of putting it together, it started off with like a joke about huffing paint, but I don't know if you noticed.
Not just huffing paint, but Midsummer Night's Dream, already pretty trippy without paint huffing, with a paint huffing like lens on it.
Right. So now that I think about it, I did notice on the 7 or 8 times in a row that I watched this, when she's handing out the photos, at first she's trying to give them to people as they're passing by and she's struggling. And then all of a sudden she's handing them out to everyone. And then it cuts to a part where people are like grabbing at them out of her tin. Did you notice that? Because I feel like that's got to be significant too.
Interesting. The attention that comes with the breakup itself is worth the attention. She's got all the birds in the cage ready to kill so she can feast off the sympathy for the, I don't know.
Oh, see, okay.
Maybe it's a commentary on the social media era itself, Tom. They saw it coming.
Part of me thinks that it's all a metaphor for drugs. Like
it's one time Imagine Dragons was playing SNL and Melissa Carthy was the host and they were shooting the promos, which are pretty much from the hip. And they post them to Instagram or whatever the takes they do before one of them ends up on air. And she was like, Imagine Dragons. So what's with the band name, huh? They're like, well, was it drugs? They're like, well, it was drugs, wasn't it? Anyway, so it's kind of like, yeah, we could pour a lot of time on after this. And, we're going to. We'll finish it out. But yeah, you're right. It's probably just drugs.
So, okay. So the thing that I thought of, I think there's almost like two different, like the mouse and the bird are like two different personalities, where the mouse is like kind of trying to get away, and that's like the straight-laced person that's like trying to do the right thing, and the mouse is like the alter ego that's like, no dude, let's get f***ed up, let's do crystal meth, and let's just
the bird is the one, the bird is the druggie,
the mouse in the dress is the druggie. Because okay, so
and the bird is the one that has to wake up and deal with everything.
So I kind of thought that, and maybe, I don't know, like maybe this is just like overreaching, but when I lived in DC, I took the metro a lot for the first year before I had a bike. And, a lot of people down on their luck hang out around the metro. And every now and then there'd be like one person that was just like really f***ed up. Or, I even think about, I was in Savannah not that long ago. and we walked by this guy who was like leaning against this rock, and then he just started talking to us about his cousin who like back in the day did this, and like we like didn't even stop to listen, but we could still hear him talking to us from like down the street. And it's just like you just start talking and telling these nonsense stories to anyone that like walks by you, because like you're a little out of your mind, maybe you're like a little lonely, you're in your own world in this like drug induced state. So like when she's trying to give out those like the Polaroids, it's like just trying to like connect with someone on the street, but it could also be like a metaphor for like she's handing drugs out, and then like as more people get them, then everyone's like addicted, so like they're grabbing at the photographs. I don't know, that might be overreaching, but like they end up running away from each other, and then they come together, and then the video basically ends with the bird and like the mouse guy just like slumped over each other in an alley. And it's like, you know, she had the birds in the cage, and it's like her victims. Like if she is drug addiction, she has the victims, and she's going after another one. And at the end of the video, they end up slumped over together in an alley, falls victim to a drug addiction. Honestly, I think I kind of am convinced that's what the video's about, drug addiction, which anyone who like has kind of been aware, Craig Owens has struggled greatly with this. That's why he was like let go of the band for a while. He ended up coming back as he got clean. I don't know. I can maybe see that being part of the narrative.
I'm in on it. Can we do a couple like surface level music video stuff that we always do? Because there's no way I'm going to top what you just said. So we got ourselves a Band in the Box video drink.
Oh, yes.
We can add
I
that.
forgot about that.
I don't know if it's a low budget video thing, but more often than not, I think notable examples Make Damn Sure. They're in an old freezer. What's the Blink-182 one? You have an easier time remembering than I do.
The rock show. Yeah.
Yeah. So put the band in a box. Not that hard. Honestly, bedroom talk as well. So yeah, there we go. You mentioned he's got a little Adam Lazar going on here. Oh
yeah, his posture. He's got that thing where like one knee is up and his like wrist is curled out on his waist, and he's kind of leaning to the side. I think of like the first few lines in Make Damn Sure when he's kind of like ticking over like a clock. It's like this very Greek statue-esque pose that's like weird. I don't know. It's something that reminds me of 2007 of lead singers with long hair. But yeah, it's just like very Adam Lazar. Not to say he's ripping it off, but like immediately I was just like, oh damn, Take It Back Sunday.
Nice. Well, let's keep talking lead singer. You know, if you watch interviews with him, he's pretty aware of the way his voice sounds.
Yeah.
Are we talking an all-timer falsetto voice, or talk to me a little bit about, and we don't do this all the time, but I think it's one of the more notable voices of the decade.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there was like a
easy
lot
to
of
love
bands.
or hate, but I mean, he brings the thunder in his own way. Sorry, I'll let you go off on it.
No, I mean, there's a lot of bands at this time that was like had the really high pitched lead singer. I mean, even into like we talking about King for a Day that had Kellen Quinn, the singer of Sleeping with Sirens, like very notable, very high pitched singer. But even before then, yeah, I mean, it was super high pitched, kind of screechy at times, but he had some like really unique, harsh vocals. You know that I criticize like really raw productions typically, but there's something
you're a pop fan really at heart. That's what we've learned from doing the show.
There's something so incredible about how raw the production of this album is, especially as you look at like Bone Palace Ballet or like Illuminaudio or whatever. It's so rough. The guitar tone is like sick though, but his vocals are like not always in key. Like his voice isn't super like strong yet. I mean, he came out of fucking Flint, Michigan as like a nobody and just like immediately was thrust into like, you know, one of the bands that like kind of redefined melodic hardcore at the time. Apparently there's like a lot of articles I read where like the genre was in this like really huge slump of like loss of creativity. Everyone's kind of doing the same thing. Then Chiodos just came in and like shook the whole thing up, and it kind of made him like an overnight star. But like, you know, you get lines like we never knew each other at all, and it's just like at Just like real
Well,
screechy.
Talk about that for a minute, man. I mean, we've got first, right before that, you have an all-timer slow chorus, where we talk about the different types of bridges. And this is the pretty common one for the decades for this subgenre we talk about. A pretty wide-ranging subgenre, I guess, if we're talking about Chiodos and Fall Out Boy in the same few weeks and Never Shout Never. But point being, slow chorus is the bridge. They slow it down almost to a glacial pace, which you want to walk me through both that chorus and the line he sings, because I want to talk about him hitting that note or not hitting it, depending on the ear. Because it gets a little this is the chaotic part of what made Chiodos so fantastic, right? I mean, this is what happens in this 30 to minute 25 span is, to me, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but what makes Chiodos so beloved is just like, buckle up. Literally, we say buckle up tongue in cheek a lot, but like, it's about to go fucking wild, man. Right? I mean, insanity ensues.
The bridge isn't the chorus. It's like a refrain of the first verse.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I take it back. You're right.
No, I mean, but yeah, I mean, it goes down real low, kind of just like this tinkly little piano happening. It could be. It's just like, dude, we talk about My Chemical Romance. We talk about My Chemical Romance having drama and theatrics, and god damn, Chiodos is like all over that. Again, it gets a little more like defined and polished, and it has a little more like flow to it, I guess, in later albums. But they are going for it. And yeah, I mean, the thing that I like about how like chaotic it is, and this is why I was really, really drawn to post-hardcore and shit like Norma Jean, is that like as soon as you get a grasp on what's happening, it changes to something totally different, totally unrelated, and now your whole body has to like refocus on what's happening, and then you hit this like super high note, and it's just like insanity.
Which,
it's so good.
What's interesting, hearing a generation above us talk like disco sucks versus this and that, and hearing riffs in Bee Gees songs that sounded like Pink Floyd riffs to me as a kid, being like, how different fucking are these? It all sounds the same to me, for certain aspects. The aren't like that dissimilar to like super pop punky octave play in my book. So it's like, no shit, I liked it kind of, you know what I mean? Like, it's like there's, I guess what I'm saying is just like, we're not so different, you and I, you know what I mean? Like the fart punk I cut my teeth on. It's just like, oh, these are, not dissimilarly layered guitar parts on the recording, more or less, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure. Yeah. It's all pop, dude.
Right.
That's really
good songs are good songs is the same thing we come back to pretty much every week. The more we do the show, it's just like everyone's all shocked when the country version or the Blink-182 version of One Week by Bare Naked Ladies. Like, I think the larger lesson is just like, sometimes you write a hit, sometimes you don't, and then you're in the right place at the right time with the right costumes, or the right eyeliner, or the right this. You know what I mean? And that's really songwriting is songwriting. But let's talk real quick. He's saying, we're getting to the anyway. Got a little carried away there. The bird and the mouse at this point in the video, this might speak to your theory a little bit. I made a note. Are they running away from each other or trying to find each other? Because they have like maps. They're scrambling through the urban setting a little bit. Any thoughts on that real quick?
I mean,
to strengthen your drug theory?
Right. Maybe it's a little bit of both. They're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. But like Friday night hits and you got, maybe it's.
Yeah. I wrote Bizarro Spy versus Spy was the vibe I was getting.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway. Oh, they meet in the alley and there's a whole like wrestling scene during the breakdown.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it again to see if one was trying to win more than the other or lose or what. But answer me. All egos aside, what do you say? All egos aside, what do you say? No. Goddamn. Very intense. But yeah, they're wrestling and Girl Mouse beats the boy bird. Yeah, it's a drug thing. Now that I saw it. Drugs wins. Yes. Now that I'm seeing these notes with your perspective, it's like, yeah, okay, it was a drug thing. I'm like, no, I think it was a love story. They just end up in an alley because no, it's drugs. Okay.
I'm glad we got to talk about them because I brought them up on a couple drafts
I
before.
really didn't know what to think because when we first watched this, we were like, how are we going to talk about Chiodos? Because obviously you're a bigger fan than me. We're like, well, it would take a lot of legwork on my end to get to the point where I could, at least be a serviceable co-host and let you go off on Bone Palace and things like that. But I knew this song and the words "best friends become redefined" relatively well. But yeah, we were like, I guess we'll talk about this video because there's not a ton of other videos that really. I mean, we mentioned a few got made off this album, but
they're not a great music video band.
Yeah, not because sometimes we'll like All American Rejects, obviously. Gives You Hell or Move Along, we haven't done yet, we could do, but it's like there's plenty, there's storylines here and there. This is kind of one of those like not smaller acts at the time, but I don't know, very sceney band, and it's kind of like, okay, so this is what we have to work with. This is kind of, we could maybe do a Chiodos episode around this. But now that we've dug into it, it's like very raw. The note he hits is raw. The breakdown is raw. The video's raw. The drug stuff is raw. The lead singer, if you look at interviews online, because I watched a few, he has juggalos tattooed inside his lips and he jumps out of planes before shows just to like feel alive and shit. And like, this is raw and hardcore and real. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we are talking about a hardcore band this week, lifestyle and otherwise. Very chaotic and energetic and honestly, an insane amount of Shakespearean references for one album.
Right.
The Shakespeare to stabbing ratio is unlike any other I've seen previously. But yeah, plenty to dig into. This probably isn't the last time we'll talk about this band, but I'm glad we figured out a way
Wait,
to
you
do
said
it, even though the videos
is the last time?
No, probably is not. Sorry, probably is not. Because we will, at some point, let Tom finally talk about Bone Palace Ballet, if
Joey
not others.
Peapot with a monkey face. I got to do it.
Man.
Yeah. No, I love this band. One of my like favorite, just goofy high school memories is my friend Seth let me borrow the
Great hair.
let me borrow the re-release of this that was like the really beautiful gatefold CD that had "I'll Stop Stabbing and You Stop Screaming" down the side. And I was in, oh God, I forget what the class was. It was the homeroom that the people in the end of the alphabet had. I don't even know what classes I took in high school at this point. But I was like, Cameron, check it out. I got the Oswald That Endspell CD. And he was like, dude, that album's like 3 years old. Who cares? But like, I was torrenting my little ass off at this point. It felt so unique to be holding a physical CD in my hands. But anyway,
I'm telling you, dude, the middle-aged eerie Polish dads that were secretly behind probably a third of the shit that was said out loud in our high school was, man, dude, that album's like 3 years old. Who gives a shit? It just feels like his dad 2 beers deep golfing, if I had to guess. But anyway, no, actually, nice guy, honestly. Probably one of the nicest guys ever. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, but I want to do an episode about the Polish community in here. But today is not that day. Okay.
Nope.
Any closing thoughts on our first attempt, our first stab, if you will, at a Chiodos episode?
That was good, dude. No, I'm so glad we did it. I can't get enough of it. Thanks for throwing me a bone this week.
I'm grateful for the bands that hit that sweet spot for me. Like, honestly, it wasn't that hard. When you're like, oh, I'm surprised you like them and Alexis on Fire, I'm like, I'm not at all. It makes total sense to me. Obviously, I like them. Like, in my brain, it just clicks. But now that we kind of break down the guitar parts, and it's like, yeah, man, what was there not to be at least intrigued by? Whitechapel, for me, it's like, this is as much a screamy fake thing as probably the Never Shout Never guy got accused of being fake lovey bubble grime. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's like, okay, maybe the Blood Curdle is a bit much, guy, but this was just like, I don't know. I thought it was at least enough. I'm speaking out of my element, but that's my thought process on the matter. Sometimes it was so egregious that I'd be like, oh my, I had trouble believing that it was, I don't know. Again, overstepping my boundaries. And we'll talk about more probably post-hardcore stuff as we go through, and we can explore my very narrow-minded thoughts and your very loving, caring thoughts on the matter. But yeah, Chiodos was that band. It was just like, oh, this makes sense. That's just a thing. I like this. This is good. I like it.
Well, awesome, man. Let's do our song of the week and skedaddle.
Let's do it. Okay, this is a little older as well this week, but I had sent a tweet out. Our buddy from high school, Doug, texted me a link to Hot Mulligan's Backyard, which is off. The album's not that old. It's maybe less than a calendar year old, maybe, but
it's so good.
BCKYRD Backyard, and he was like, "Man," and I was like, "Yeah," and that's all we had to say about it, because that song is like, he was like, "This reminds me of stuff," and I'm like, "Yeah, I think I know what stuff you're talking about, bud. I think I know what stuff you're talking about." Anyway, it's just one of those songs. It's just like, woof. I think I missed it on the first go around because, admittedly, I'm not like a diehard Hot Mulligan fan, but I just worry for the lead singer, the way he sings. I'm like, you're gonna die, man, because he sings so, intense way that I'm worried for his vocal cords and stuff. Like, if Kelly Clarkson could go hoarse on tours post American Idol, I can only imagine what it's like to be tour as him singing that way. Kudos. I'm saying, like, that's an immense amount of power, throat power, whatever. Anyway, Backyard, wild and nice. I like it.
All right. I've got a not super unrecent song, Losing Myself by State Champs. I've been listening to them a lot lately, but mostly I love the music video for this. They have like a minute-long skit about like a new employee's first day at a water park. Just really funny. They're a pretty good music video band. I like it. I like the vibe of the video. State Champs are awesome. Like one of my top tier pop punk bands, especially of like the more modern era, I guess. So yeah, Losing Myself by State Champs.
I will include more songs of the week in future episodes. But I just saw a note to myself about the new Justin Courtney Pierre stuff that I'll pick one of those songs later. But just getting excited, getting ahead of myself. I gotta save them for when I actually have them, which I do. But anyway, yeah.
All right.
Thanks for being here, everybody.
Let's head to the post show. Love you all. And yeah, thanks for being here. Hit us up on Twitter at _reminiscentfm. You can find our Instagram at _reminiscentfm. And you can find our Space Hey at spacehey.com/_reminiscentfm.
Find our playlists on our website.
reminiscentpodcast.com.
That's right.
Which we should do a better job of. We could do better. We'll keep working on the website. It is a living document,
better,
as they say.
We can do better. All right. Bye, everybody. Love you, Tom.
Love you all. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I had such a good time talking about one of my favorite bands, and I've listened to nothing but Chiodos in the 2 weeks since we recorded this episode. They are so fucking good. Please hit us up on Twitter at _reminiscentfm. Let us know who introduced you to this band, if you dig Bone Palace Ballet as much as All's Well That Ends Well or not, and if you knew that these songs were pretty much just word-for-word Shakespeare verses. We love you all so much. We'll talk to you next week. Bye, everyone.